So I'm sure you're all aware by now that IGN have been sharing a heap of information over the last few weeks on Jedi Survivor. They mentioned they've got a whole month worth of gameplay snippets, interviews, and information about the game that they are going to be sharing with us, and this week they've shared some information about this guy that you guys can see on screen, whose name is officially confirmed to be Rayvis, and he is officially a Gendai. So that was something that was speculated a lot throughout the community, and that is officially confirmed as of just the other day. And so today I'm going to be breaking down all of the news about this character and talking about just why this guy is going to be a big issue. If you're new to the channel, definitely hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. There's going to be plenty more Jedi Survivor content on the way in the lead up to launch. But with that being said, let's get stuck right into it. So like I said, lots of people in the community had already speculated that this was a Gendai. I was actually pronouncing it Gendai initially, then I pronounced it Gendai, and now I'm back to pronouncing it Gendai because that's how everyone else seems to be pronouncing it. So do correct me if I'm wrong, but that is essentially how everyone else seems to be pronouncing it. And like I said, this guy's name is officially Rayvis, which I might add is a pretty awesome name. Now, we've obviously seen him in the trailer, but they did also share some really awesome concept art of him as well. He looks a little bit different in the concept art. I think his armor's slightly different, and obviously he's got a helmet on with like a big like ponytail sort of thing. We don't see his helmet in the actual gameplay, or in the trailer I should say. So whether he even has a helmet, I'm not too sure. It almost looks like that part around his neck kind of like transforms into a helmet or something. So whether it's a helmet that he literally takes on and off, or whether it's more like an Iron Man type of helmet, if that makes sense, I'm not too sure. But he definitely looks a little bit different in the concept art, but it is pretty cool to see either way. Now, we also see some more concept art here of the Bedlam Raiders, who, for those who don't know, are essentially the group of bandits or raiders that are on Kobo, the planet that we see throughout the gameplay. I think it was actually just in my last video that I was sort of speculating who could these people be, because they're obviously not the Empire, and so that was also confirmed midweek as well, that they are officially known as the Bedlam Raiders. Now, getting back to Rayvis and his species, the Gendai are already a canon species within Star Wars. They are mostly featured in Legends, but it has been made canon through the Dr. Aphra comics, where a character called Dirge has actually shown up, and Dirge was shown a lot throughout Legends. He was even in the original Clone Wars series, not the one that you guys may have watched, but the early, I think 2003 Tartakovsky Clone Wars series, and Dirge is an absolute menace. This is probably one of the most dangerous characters in all of Star Wars. However, we haven't actually seen too much of him in canon. Like I said, he's only in, I think, 2 different issues of the Dr. Aphra comic series, and it's implied in that he is essentially dead, but it's one of those deaths that he's definitely not dead, because he just got shafted out into space, and he will no doubt show up somewhere else in Star Wars canon. Now, the reason I mentioned Dirge instead of obviously talking about Rayvis is because, like I said, Dirge is a genuine menace. He's probably one of the most dangerous characters in Star Wars, and there is a reason for that. It's not just because he himself is one tough bastard, it's actually because his species, known as Gendai, like I said, are very hard to kill, if not essentially impossible to actually kill. Gendai and their bodies are made up of almost like tentacle-like muscles. They don't have any vital organs. They don't have any bones. They're essentially just like a big-ass octopus in a way that forms itself into, you know, a humanoid-looking species. And they obviously all wear armor, but the armor is not actually so much for protection. It's essentially just to help keep their body in shape a little bit easier, because they essentially don't even need armor. Going back to Dirge, there has been a few times, I think in the Clone Wars series, that he actually lost limbs, and he essentially just regenerates them almost immediately. When they lose a limb, those sort of tentacle-like muscles can actually just regenerate on the spot. And so you can cut a Gendai's arm off, for example, and within a minute or so, its arm will have essentially grown back, which obviously makes them very hard to kill. Now, the only way that we know in canon and in Legends to actually kill a Gendai is by destroying their brain. It's almost like a zombie, where you can shoot them in the body as many times as you want until you actually shoot them in their head. They are not going down, and it's pretty much the same way with a Gendai. You could probably cut a Gendai in half, and they will somehow figure a way to come back. But if you actually destroy their brain, that is the only part of their body that cannot regenerate. And so if we are going to be fighting Rayvis within Jedi Survivor, which I think is pretty obvious that we will be, he's clearly going to be a boss, there is a high chance that we may actually have to destroy Rayvis's brain, which is going to be pretty mental to see in Star Wars. I don't think we've ever really seen someone be stabbed through the head with a lightsaber. Obviously Cal has a blaster too, so maybe we just shoot him in the head, I'm not too sure. Or maybe we just have a similar situation to the Ninth Sister, where it's just like implied that he dies and we don't actually see it. I'm not really too sure, but one thing I do know is that this guy is going to be very hard to kill, and he may be one of, if not the single hardest boss in the actual game. I don't imagine he'll be the final boss, because he does seem more like a bit of a grunt than the key villain, if that makes sense. I think the key villain will be the grey-skinned character that we see in the Bacta tank, and if it's not him, then it's most likely going to be someone from the Empire or like an Inquisitor. So I don't think Rayvis will be the main and final boss, but I do think he's going to be very, very hard to kill. Almost in the same way that in Fallen Order, Malicos was probably, at least for me, if you guys watched me stream it, you'll know that for sure. He was probably the hardest for me to kill, even over Triller. That Malicos boss fight was definitely the hardest. So it could be another situation like that where he's one of the final bosses, but not the final boss. But like I said, all we know so far is that he's definitely not going to be easy. I have a feeling they will really play into the whole regeneration thing where we may actually cut certain limbs off throughout the boss fight, and we're going to actually see him regenerate them back, which would be pretty cool to see. It's going to be absolutely terrifying at the same time, but I am very keen to see it nonetheless. Now that's pretty much all the information that we have on Rayvis so far. I think obviously they want to keep some of it to be spoiler free for when we actually play the game, so I don't imagine we'll hear too much more about Rayvis, but we will no doubt hear more about other characters in the game in the coming weeks. And so keep your eyes peeled right here on the channel for more Jedi Survivor content. There's going to be definitely a lot more content in the lead up to launch, whether they talk about anything else or if not, there is so much speculation that I can do. And so, like I said, if you guys are new to the channel and you are interested in Jedi Survivor, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. Thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and may the Force be with you always.